4. Double century for Steve Smith, unbeaten. Mitchell Marsh also closing in on a double century. Hadn't had a Test century before today. They have eclipsed England's 403 lead by 146 and may declare sometime tomorrow. The weather could be a factor. Let's start to get some reaction with the England assistant coach Paul Farbrace. He's with Alison Mitchell.
Well, a very difficult day for England, of that there is no doubt. Paul, have England been, or are you being battered out of the Ashes here at the WACA?
Well, I wouldn't say battered out. I think we've had a very battering day. It's been a tough day. I think what they've shown is that when you get in, you've got to go big here. It's obviously a very good pitch, and it's a pretty tough lesson for our batsmen to learn that, we had the opportunity, and it's pretty much as it's gone over the 3 games. We've had opportunities, we've not quite either been good enough or we've missed opportunities to take them. Australia have taken opportunities today and put themselves in a very good position.
You're highlighting the batting. You believe there's no more the bowlers could have done on this pitch today with this 5th wicket partnership? Well,
they've played exceptionally well. I think Smith has played fantastically well, as he has done all series. And of course you can look back at how your bowlers bowl. We think we've worked really hard today as a bowling group. We've toiled away really, really well. We haven't got that extra pace that the Australians have got, and we don't have magical spin. We have what we have. And we knew that coming into this series. There were going to be times when it was going to be tough for our bowlers, and today has proved to be one of those days.
When you haven't got the out-and-out pace, when you haven't quite got the same spin, is that where, though, you need to get that extra energy from somewhere? Didn't seem to be a lot of great body language or energy from the players. Did you sense that?
Well, I thought our body language was pretty good today. I mean, I think we've stuck at that really well. The conversation we just had in our dressing room now is that it's been a tough day. At no stage have we just given it away, and we've worked exceptionally hard today. So, I think that watching from side on, we've got stuck in, we've worked hard, but we just haven't quite been good enough to get the wickets on that surface. I think that, there was a lot said before play today about the cracks in the surface, and that may help our bowlers, and there was a little bit of variable bounce yesterday. We didn't quite find that today, and that's not through lack of effort. And in terms of our fielders, I would defend our fielders and say I think they got stuck in. It's tough. When the ball's constantly flying by you as a fielder, it sometimes looks like you're not fielding particularly well. I think we've done as much as we can do today and given our all, and that's all you can ask for at the end of the day.
We did see Craig Overton diving around. He's actually got a hairline cracked rib, is that right?
He has. So, when you're saying that, perhaps our body language and our way of getting stuck in hasn't been as good as it could be, there's a lad who's playing, in his first Test series. He cracked a rib, made it even worse yesterday when he dived on it, and has still gone out today and bowled for us. So, I think that shows great volumes to him as a person and as a character. So, there's been, one real big positive from his performance, and we think he's bowled particularly well as well. So, as I say, it's easy to look at a team we only take 1 wicket in a day and say, body language not great and we haven't got stuck in. We think we've done pretty well today. We think we've hung in there, and it's never easy, but Australia have definitely had the best of the day.
So at some point, it's going to come back to the batting again. What needs to be done on that front? Who are England going to have to look to try and salvage something?
All of them. All of the batters have got to get stuck in. I mean, we said it's a good pitch. We batted well in patches in the first innings, but not well enough as a team. And, yes, 2 people got hundreds and played exceptionally well. They played brilliantly from 140 for 4. There was an unbelievable spell of bowling from the Australians, and 2 of our lads got stuck in and really fought well. And that's something we've got to do throughout the second innings. Everybody's got to stand up. Everybody's got to fight and scrap and get stuck in. And you've got to earn, in Test cricket, you have to earn the right to play. And we've got to do that with the bat in the second innings.
And is there that belief in the dressing room that you can get something from this Test match still?
Of course there is. Until the Test match finishes, you have to believe you can get something out of it. We came into this game believing we could get something out of it and to keep this series alive going into the next game. And there's nothing to suggest that we can't still do that. Yeah, it's going to be hard, but that's what it is. I know it sounds a bit corny, but it is Test cricket. It's tough cricket, and you've got to get stuck in. And the best teams find a way to compete and get stuck in, perhaps when their backs are against the wall. And we've got, now to get really stuck in and show that we have got some character and we have got guts and we have got belief in this side. It's all very well talking about it, though. We've actually got to go and do it, and that's the most important thing.
Paul, thanks very much for your time. Best of luck for the rest of the match.
Cheers, thank you.
Paul Farbrace defending his team, as you'd expect, but let's try and put a bit of meat on the bones. Is it too strong to say a disastrous day for England, Michael?
Oh, it's a disastrous day. I mean, I think today showed that with no swing, no seam, no pace, no spin, how are you going to get wickets? You're basically relying on an Australian batting unit to get bored. You know, get bored, chip one in the air. Well, you can see, and Mitchell Marsh is walking over to us now, but you could just see from their eyes that they're not going to do that. They're desperate to get these Ashes back, and you'd have to say today was probably the day, in my opinion, that the Ashes will be staying in Australia.
Mitchell, come on in. Congratulations. Thank you very much for joining us. How much did you enjoy that?
Oh, yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. Yeah, it was obviously nice to have a big partnership with Smudger. We sort of kept each other going there. I was getting pretty tired towards the end, but it was a great day for Australia.
I mean, I suppose if Father Christmas created something for you on your home ground, Test century, your maiden Test century in an Ashes, with your brother watching, presumably the rest of the family. I mean, the moment it doesn't come much better, does it?
No, it's probably something that I'll look back on maybe tonight or after the game, but we've obviously still got a lot of hard work to do in this game. It's really special to be able to make 100 in front of my parents and my grandparents. They all sit in the same spot and they're not allowed to move while I'm batting, so there's some full bladders up in the stands.
What's going through your mind there? Can you remember?
It's about time.
Really? Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
Relief.
Yeah, just for pure relief. Yeah, I think you know, it's what you work hard for. It's what you strive for, and every time you play for Australia, you want to go out there and do that for your teammates. And yeah, it's just a great day for Australia.
Just thinking back to coming into the game, obviously you've been out of the team for a while, you come back in. How was the build-up? Were you more nervous? Were you more settled? You've obviously had a good start of the Sheffield Shield season. Did you feel more in control than ever going out today?
Yeah, for some reason I just felt really relaxed the whole preparation. I guess it all happened pretty fast for me, but even, you know, the build-up, batting the nets and stuff, I just felt really comfortable. I've played 22 tests now, so I'm not exactly a debutant. And I've worked really hard over the last 8 months to get my game into a position where I've now got a game plan, and that's all I'm sticking to, and the noise around me doesn't really matter.
And what if there's anything that you have changed, is it anything technical or is it a mental change that you've made?
Yeah, well, I probably worked out after 8 years that I can't just punt on the front foot all the time. So I worked really hard on playing in my defence on the back foot, leaving off the back foot and trying to get a cut shot. So I don't know, I've worked hard, and today's just one of those days that feels great.
Just on that point, did you feel like you were tested enough with the short ball today? Just prior to lunch, Broad went after you, and then after lunch for 4 or 5 overs, couple of false hooks. Did you feel like they explored that well enough?
I don't know, maybe they could have done a little bit more, but for me, they got it reversing just a touch there for a little while, so I think that's why they went to the plan of bowling straight. But yeah, I don't know, maybe they could have, I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
Team plans from here, you had a chance to have a discussion on what you might do tomorrow morning?
I would imagine Smudger will want to get a lead of maybe 250 or 300 if we can. We've still got to bat really well tomorrow and then have a crack.
Go and see your family. Well done, Mitchell. Really appreciate your time. Thank you very much. I think they'd love to go and congratulate you.
I'll hug you later, mate.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate that. Oh, well, listen, you know, he and obviously Steve Smith, who invariably gets the headlines. Look, I think we talked this morning that he's, prior to today, had a terrible average as a number 6, possibly the worst in Test cricket. Now look at him, high scores in a Test match in Perth. Only Ricky Ponting, whoever he is.
What were you doing back at number 6?
That's a good point.
Fresh face Ponting, then his little cap on, wasn't it?
Early on in the career, actually, I came off 3 consecutive ducks going into that inning, so I needed a few runs in that one.
You had a pair down in Hobart. Look at the name. It's, what, number 5 there?
Yep.
It's a big name there, isn't it? That puts it all into perspective, I guess. That sums up.
Don't get more worked up at home, Gilly. Gee whiz. Let's talk about Mitchell Marsh's innings, because Ricky, you watched with, I'm sure, some degree of maybe trepidation initially, because there's a lot riding for him, as there was for Shaun in Adelaide, and he's answered a lot of critics.
Well, that's why I asked him the question about how he felt coming into the game. You know, he didn't bowl as well as he would have liked. He put a catch down early on as well, and when you're coming back into the team, you want to make an impression straight away and do everything right, but I said to Vaughan early on in his innings, how hard he hits the ball and the noise and the sound it makes off the bat. I mean, shots like this back down the ground, and, you know, he talked about not just plonking on the front foot, but what he's doing now, he's still very much a front foot player, but he's not falling across his stumps. His front foot's going down the line of the stumps, and he's got access to the ball to hit the ball hard, straight back down the wicket, and that's always a sign of a guy that's in good touch. When you're hitting straight drives, off drives, and on drives really hard and really crisply, that's a really good sign.
It was a great celebration.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to run off the field at one point, straight up to the trainer.
Well, as with Johnny Bairstow, you sometimes can read a lot, can't you, into the release and relief that comes with a milestone.
I thought it was a brilliant question that Gilly asked him actually there, saying, do you think England went hard enough with the short ball? Because they definitely didn't. You could tell he wanted to say, well, no, they didn't. But he knows they did, because he's one guy who will take it on in the end. He's not Steve Smith. Smith. He won't just let them all go and go and go. And I think that's one area England could have gone, but it was just an impressive knock.
The more I look at these shots, the more he reminds me of Andrew Flintoff.
Yeah. Right.
You know, those cut shots, those punts down the ground, you know, not a huge amount of movement, the trigger movement just dead still, and there you go, a cut shot. Very similar to Freddie Flintoff.
Yeah. Well, you've known for a while about his talent, haven't you? It's a harnessing of a talent, isn't it?
It is, and it takes some players a little bit longer to work it out and to get settled. And his bowling is going to be important in this team if he stays there. But that shows you the skill that he has inside him, and it's just a matter of being able to release it and feel comfortable with it. Those sort of cut shots there, but straight down the ground. That you're right, Vorney, about Freddie, and we know from personal experience, Freddie, you could get some dot balls to him, you feel like you build up pressure, and then he'll just do a little punch drive back past the stumps, and because of the physique and the power, it disappears for four.
The point I wanted to make as well, the emotion that we've seen with Johnny Bairstow and Mitchell Marsh, it's easy to see and think guys are just going to go out there and get 100. Steve Smith's doing it every other week. Some guys have got to work long and hard just to get, you know, Johnny's got 4, Mitchell Marsh is in his 23rd test and got his first one. It's not the easiest thing to do to score a test match 100, so you can understand the emotion comes out after that.
Have they, between them, battered England out of the series today?
Yeah, I think they have. You know, I think today was a day that, you know, England wins day 1, day 2 was to Australia. England had to win today. You know, they really did have to come out and get early wickets. They had to get the Australian captain quickly. They tried that straight through with the on-seal field set. They had deep mid-wicket on the boundary to him, so they did try that. But sometimes you come up against a player and a partnership that was just too good. Yeah, England could have tried a few things. They could have bowled a bit short to Mitchell Marsh. They, you know, could have used Overton with the second new ball. You know, must mention Overton, he's playing with a cracked rib, so you've got a bit of character with that young player. I just think Australia have just been too good for England today.
We'll talk about the S word next. You know who that is, not what that is, but it's a double 100 again for Steve Smith. In fact, his highest test score ever thus far, but he's building and building. The Barmy Army prayed for rain and disappeared, as you'd expect, to perhaps drown their sorrows, but we're back with more in just a couple of minutes. And there's proud dad Jeff, 50 tests to his name, so no mean player, selector.
Look at the photo bombs in the background, David Warner.
Yeah, definitely one for the Marsh family. He's only half the story, though, of course, because Steve Smith, I was just thinking then, he almost is entering that Messi Ronaldo territory where we just not quite sure what superlatives are left to use.
Well, he's a wonderful player. I mean, he's causing chaos in the England ranks. So they must have had hours and hours of meetings. There was more meetings this morning. They went straight on him today. And he's just too good. 229, 390 balls. It's his concentration, his technique, his awareness of what the opposition are trying to do to him. The strategy's change, and he just has all the answers. When he defends it, it's the middle of the bat. He's a wonderful player.
This was yesterday, wasn't it? Yeah, this was yesterday. He was going nearly at a run of ball, so he came out with great intent. He seized the opportunity and sniffed out an opportunity on a beautiful batting strip, played all the shots. Then when Khawaja got out, he put a little bit of a handbrake on last night. That's why he couldn't get to the century last night. But he was able to do it there. Yeah, you hear him call. And, well, by comparison to some of the celebrations, that was pretty subdued, Swanee, but he just kept going. He knew 100's not enough, I want to go big.
Well, the best thing about him, he just doesn't miss-hit the ball at the moment. And I mean, when people are in purple patches, you know, they still tend to nick one or chop one down to fine leg. Every time he gets the ball that's slightly over-pitched, slightly shot wide, it goes for 4. That, as a bowler, that's soul-destroying because you just want to bowl at the guy at the other end. And when the guy at the other end is smacking it like Mitchell Marsh was, I mean, the choice you've got between the two is pretty much of a Hobson's choice for a bowler.
Ricky, 390 deliveries he's faced. He's played and missed at 5.
That many?
Yeah.
Yeah, that surprises me as well.
Yeah, I don't remember so many of those, but no, look, I said last night, it looks like his bat's about 3 feet wide at the moment. And then, you know, the best players in the world are in the best form. That's what it was always like. When we bowled to Tendulkar, or you bowled to Lara, or you bowled to Vaughan at their best, it felt like their bat was just wider than everybody else's, and that's what it must feel like with this England attack right now.
Thank you very much for it.
Smile on Vaughan's face.
It was elbow. I had to get his name in there somewhere.
And they're memories for life. You never forget that partnership now, will they, those two? But that's just, you know, showing and acknowledging everything we've said. He's got every shot all around the ground. Doesn't matter what approach the bowling
wheel than wagon wheel.
Well, especially England didn't believe he could score on the offside coming out here. He was all leg side. If you stop him on the offside, you're fine. Those stats say
just 120 odd. Yeah,
I think the fact that England reviewed probably one of the worst ever LBWs, which was missing leg stump by about
but only 2 inches. If it's only 2, and it's
I think that tells you everything, that they were desperate.
Well, that takes us on to where England are at in this match, in the series. You know, jokes aside, obviously they need to play an awful lot better. Whether they've got that in them, it's all right, Paul Farbre saying we believe, but you have to look around and say what do we have to combat this other team?
Yeah, but he also said that talk's cheap.
Yeah.
You know, he also said that, you know, the players have got to go there and produce the action. You know, I think it's going to be a real tough challenge. There is a forecast of some rain here in Perth. I personally think they're probably going to need it. I really do. I think the way that the Australians will come at them, this lead will be 250 plus. You can't think that England will suddenly rip out 6 wickets for 100 runs in the morning. It'll be 250, 300, and it's going to be very, very difficult for the England team.
It wouldn't be unreasonable, would it, Graham, to say, where was Darwin Malan earlier in this innings? Why didn't he bowl earlier? I know he's an occasional leg spinner, but actually he looked more dangerous than all the others.
He did, but he is a very part-time bowler, so you can't look back and say, oh, we should have been on at lunchtime, whatever. I don't think the England bowlers actually bowled that badly today. They didn't look like they were going to break through. They ran in, they tried their hearts out all day. I have an issue with what Paul Farbre said, our body language was great all day. It wasn't. The bowlers were great all day. The batsmen in the field, the guys who had nothing to do with the bowling unit, they're the ones who didn't do enough for me. Just Craig Overton bowling with a broken rib. At one point, he ran up and bowled, and I watched him bowl 2 overs, and not a single player, not a single one of the batsmen ran up, patted him on the backside, grabbed his cap for the umpire, put their arm around him saying, mate, you're doing a great job for us, keep going. And these guys who are just playing as batsmen, I mean, that's Chris Wakes, he's one of the bowlers. The guys who are bowling and running in all day, you have to leave them to it and hope that they can conjure something. But the guys who aren't bowling, they need to give more for me. I really think that.
Is that a fair point?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've been there as well as a batsman. When you know when you've batted and you've had your turn and things are getting tough in the field, the only way you can have an impact on the game is by doing those little things. It's the little 1%ers. There's a bit of energy, it's a bit of voice, it's running to fine leg to get the bowler's hat, whatever it might be. That's all you can do to influence the game. Otherwise, you're just a statue in the field. I mean, the ball wasn't going to the fielders in the first place, so it's not like they were doing a lot. If you can have an influence or change something, why not try and do it?
Actually, I know they're always more involved, but Johnny Bairstow was like that, wasn't he? A bit like you, quite chirpy, very much kind of trying to G everybody up. I know that's part of the role of the wicketkeeper, but some of the others, they did look very flat and still at times, statuesque almost, Gilly.
Yeah, it's highly underrated, that whole part of run down to fine leg, get the cap, run it up to the umpire so the bowler doesn't have to walk all the way to the umpire. Little things, they seem like basics, but I agree with both comments from Ricky and Swanee. You want to make an impact. If you've missed out with the bat, or even if you've contributed, you know you're going to spend time in the field. You're against quality players here, so you've got to want to contribute. It's got to come from within.
Michael, is there enough quality and are there enough leaders in this England team?
Well, they're going to be challenged over the next few weeks. We spoke a few weeks ago. As soon as England picked their tour party, Ben Stokes is not available. You know, that 4-seam option, the 4-seam I always think can be a little bit of a firecracker, something a bit different. You want 3 consistent bowlers. The problem for England is that their consistency bowlers, Annis and Broad, have got 13 wickets. You know, Stark and Hazelwood have got 28. They've bowled more overs now than Stark and Hazelwood. They're just not having the same impact. As I said before, there's no swing, there's no seam, and there's no real pace. As a batsman, you need bowlers that can take you out at the present moment and kind of knock you off your tracks. And you know, England just on these wickets don't have enough in terms of the pace or the swing of the seam just to try and nullify someone that wants to just bat for a long period of time. That's why Steve Smith, Mitchell Marsh just sat in, saw a good pitch, thought, I'll have a piece of that.
Yeah, well, you can see on the screen, obviously, in terms of the leading wicket takers, top 4 all Aussies. And then in terms of the leading runs, well, you got very close to a stat, didn't we, that was almost humiliating today, where this innings from Steve Smith is about to eclipse Joe Root and Alistair Cook for the series. 1 innings.
Yeah, and that's not ideal. I mean, Steve Smith is, you take him out of it, he's the best player in the world in the form of his life.
Wish we could.
All the other, yeah, exactly. it's what all the other guys do. And what Australia did today was showing England what they need to do when 2 men get in. And Paul Farbre's actually intimated towards that. He, without saying it, he said the guys who were in should have gone bigger, which they should have done in retrospect. That wicket is still absolutely belting. I disagree with Michael a little bit, as in I don't think they're going to lose this test match. I'm hoping they're not going to lose this
I'll
test.
have a bet if it doesn't rain.
Okay, we'll go. Oh, I'm not sure. But only because this wicket is so good, it's so flat, and it is not breaking up. It may break up over the next couple of days, but the England fielders must be watching those guys bat and saying, right, we're batting again. We're getting big runs. We're not going to get out to bowlers. We're keeping this Ashes alive, and I believe they'll do it.
A gentleman's wager, just point out that for the lawyers watching. In terms of the series, obviously, we don't state in the obvious, really, with the 2 wins already under their belt, anything other than a win for Australia keeps the series theoretically alive, at least takes us to Melbourne with something.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at the game situation, you're thinking probably England have to bat 4.5 sessions to try and save the Test match, to keep the Ashes alive. You know, it's a pitch that looks pretty good. Those cracks will widen. I do think that England possibly will need a little bit of help from the gods above. I really do.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. If they get a 200-run lead, which they're going to get 250-run lead, you can guarantee when the Australian quick start to bowl, it will look like a different pitch. It's going to be hard to score, and the ball's going to be doing something just for the fact that the England batsmen will know that they've got to pick 250-plus runs off to stay in the game.
Yeah, I'm just looking behind at what's going on with the covers.
We're going to rip them off, eh?
No, I'm just thinking that.
He's looking for somewhere to sleep tonight. You know, sleep on
Cheers, Ricky.
That's what you and Lehman used to do at Yorkshire, wouldn't it, mate?
Oh, steady on.
I don't think the wicket is going to deteriorate a great deal. So that's what England have got to hold on to. Yes, if there's rain, you can't control rain, but I think there are cracks there, but it's not going to be hot. It's cooling off tomorrow. 19 degrees Celsius is the top forecast. So the wicket should remain. It's going to be all in the mind.
I'm bringing a coat. Just saying.
A cagoule.
Yeah.
That's what you need.
And Swanee's brolly.
Been here too long.
But I suppose you can't think like that. We're talking about mindset and mentality and approach and character and all those cliches, but it's about long time. You can't be hoping for stuff. You've got to exert control.
And well, Paul Farabray said, again, talk is cheap. You've got to actually go out and do it. And I'm waiting to see, some of those guys in the top 6 who haven't performed so far go out and do that for me.
Yeah, you made a good point about where Steve Smith leads. Joe Root has to say, I can follow. I can be that good.
Look out, hang on, look out. We've got a pitch invade.
And that bloke there probably needs to stand up as well, I think. Alistair Cook and Joe Root might need to stand up.
By the way, probably on his way to the nets.
A rueful look back, as if to say, no, I'm not.
But listen, all day.
Jokes aside, these guys have to deliver.
I mean, the positive way that the England team have to look at it, yes, the pitch won't deteriorate. There's a great chance to go out there and get a century. There's been 2 in the first innings. David Milan and Johnny Bairstow played great. Alistair Cook does need to find form. We've been talking all day about the Root and Cook combination. 231 runs in the series so far. Smith and Warner well over 500, 600 now. I think now he's got his 229 not out. Alistair Cook will require to bat for a long period of time in the second innings.
Yeah. Listen, you didn't have to face this question very often as a player because the team that you were part of was so good, but is it a mismatch?
Oh, look, I thought it was before the series started because I was worried about the penetration and the impact the England bowlers would have on Australia's batters, and I was worried about the impact that the Australian fast bowlers would have been able to execute on the English batsmen. I thought there was a bit of a mismatch, both teams there. When Stokes was ruled out, to try and find a replacement that's going to come and have the same sort of impact on the England team that he did, I thought was too big an ask, and I think we're starting to see now that there is a fair gap, I think, between these two teams.
The worry for me with Australia is that they're quite a young team. You're looking at that trio of fast bowlers. They're going to be around a while. There's Panson waiting in the wings. You've got Mitchell Marsh into the side now with a centurion. And this is the England batsman that will have to come out and face the music tomorrow. And you look at the England side, there are quite a few ageing players that aren't going to be around for that much longer. And that's going to be the difference, I reckon, going forward, that England will have to replace the likes of Broad, Anderson and Cook eventually. And that tail's just, you can't rely on the tail. The top order have got to do the business.
I'm going to disagree a little bit with the boys again.
Okay.
It's a mismatch in Australia. In these conditions, absolutely. In England, swinging conditions, I think this England team are better than the Australians.
Not in England, are we?
That is the difference. Exactly. That's where England have to come up with a plan away from home. Because I think they're too reliant on how good they are in England. And, and they're too poor away from home.
But however true that is, you can't stand here in Australia and say, we're better in England.
Well, no, but that is the problem. They're happy and reliant on how good they are at home, rather than working out a way to win over here that they haven't done.
Just wonder whether the Aussies go to England that often thinking we're better in Australia. I don't think they do, do they?
Well, the last couple of tours we have, we've been found wanting in England a lot.
Yeah, but are you thinking that beforehand, during?
No.
No, there's a bit of that across Test cricket now, right around the world. That a lot of teams are playing very well at home and being exposed away. it's just a generational thing. There was a little period there from, where you guys coming here and winning. We won a series in India. India came here and challenged us, won a match here at the WACA, which was supposedly their least favoured surface. So it's gone back to home advantage now. So all teams are faced with this challenge. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, no question. The ball was swinging around. We saw that at the Adelaide Oval in the second innings. Once the ball hoops around and swings and seams, England are in the game. The problem here is it's not moved an inch.
No, just before we go, we've got highlights, obviously, of day 3. 11:30 start for those on BT Sport 3. If you want to watch the Aussie